This is Just the Who of Us, where we talk about topics from spirituality, entertainment, life experience, family relationships, answer listener questions, and more. What I wanted to talk to you about today, I wanted to kind of introduce you to my audience and get to know you a little bit, and introduce your podcast and what you do. It resonates with me a lot because I'll be 40 in like a year and a half, and there's just a certain place that I want to be, especially in comparison to where I've been. Just eating whatever I try to do certain things. I don't eat red meat.
Yeah.
I cut out dark soda, and then I started back drinking it, and just the fluctuation.
Yeah.
Sleep issues, medication for sleep, and just
Yeah.
things that I don't want to keep doing. Your focus was really interesting to me because not only do I feel like it's beneficial to myself, I feel like it could be beneficial to a lot of my audience.
Absolutely. And I was where you are now, and I was 41 when
Mhm.
somebody questioned what I was doing. And that's when it started opening doors for me. I did lots of research, and then I started changing my life.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit of about who you are, and then we'll get to the what you do.
Okay, I am Sarah Dawkins. And it took me a long time to understand who I am outside of my job title. And I think I've got a hippie heart and a gypsy soul. I've been married for 32 years. I have a 36-year-old son, a 29-year-old daughter, and we have a little rescue dog, and we feed a stray cat. And I live in the mountains in Spain in a fantastic little village in the middle of nowhere. And life is good. It's very simple. We live a very, very simple life, but it's good. I wouldn't say it's easy because, there's a lot of fruit picking to be done and tree pruning and weeding, but it's a good life.
Yeah, yeah. I think that an easy life is not necessarily always a good life, right?
No.
Because when we do the easy things, we're not really putting a lot of work in. And it's not until we start putting that consistent work in that we're really in a good place most of the time.
Yeah, yeah, and I think as well, I've learned over the past few years that it's when we have that confidence or find that confidence within us and step outside of our comfort zone, we keep growing our comfort zone, so it gets larger and larger. And in doing so, it builds us more confidence, and then the more confidence we get, the more able we are to keep stepping outside of our comfort zone. So our comfort zone is forever growing. And as we do more and more things outside of our comfort zone, we learn and grow more in ourselves as well. So it's self-development.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Sorry, I got a phone call that's distracting me a little bit. S- so tell me a little bit about your background with medicine. Um, Part of what you do is not medication. um,
Yeah.
Less medication, more self-care. Tell me a little bit about your medical background and what kind of led you out of that.
So my mum was a nurse, and she talked about the work that she did, and I always aligned with that because I'm thinking it's helping other people, especially when they're vulnerable in the hospital settings and they've come in for operations or care. They're really vulnerable at those times. And I really aligned with that and wanted to do the same. I wanted to help people on their own journey back to wellness. So I did my training as a nurse slightly later in life. But nonetheless, I trained as a nurse and worked as a nurse for 20 years. But during that time, somebody had questioned something I was doing at home. around medication. So I started to do some research and look sort of outside that medical model box, because I'd always been in it. Here's the box. That's when you're sick, you go to a doctor. The doctor gives you a prescription, a diagnosis,
Yeah.
and you take the pills and you're healed. And that was all I ever knew. And I was 41 when somebody questioned what I was doing around medicine. So I'm like, why would they say that? So I went home and started doing some research, and one door opened, 5 doors open, 50 doors open. Wow, just so many doors. And every night I was researching on the internet, and it was just blowing my mind, the things I was reading about how capable we are as human beings to heal ourselves more efficiently when we support our body. And this was relatively new to me. I knew our bodies healed because I watched people come into hospital following a heart attack. They have bits cut out, bits put in, and stitched up, and they go home different people
Yeah.
with more life, and their body continues to heal whatever it was that we did in the hospital.
Yeah.
So I started stepping outside that medical model and looking at how can I heal myself, because I had the regular psoriasis, eczema, acid reflux, all of which are linked to stress and lifestyle. And specifically gluten and dairy as well exacerbate all of those three symptoms. And then I went on to develop candida, an underactive thyroid. I had two frozen shoulders, one year, one the next. I had hip, knee, and neck pains. And I eventually burned out my adrenal glands, dropped my blood pressure so very, very low. And it stayed there for years. And then I finally ended up with a really deep, dark depression. And I had suicidal thoughts. So I was healing all of that without resorting to medicine, because I've started my journey. I'm like, well, how am I going to heal this? So as I was healing, I mean, part of it was potluck, part of it was the physical side of it, because, when we think about healing, it's like we're going to eat better, sleep better, hydrate, take a bit of exercise. And we put healing into that box, which is purely physical.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yep.
as I started to heal, I realized there was like some mental aspects to it. There's the mental health, looking after your mind. So there's meditation and mindfulness, but there's also things like being creative and learning a language, using your mind in other ways. So that is encompassed within that mental work as well. And then there's the spiritual work, which is about getting back in touch with that voice inside you. And lots of people call that voice different names, and it doesn't
Right.
matter what name we give to it. Some people
Right.
call it the divine, the angels, spirit. Other people call it their inner wisdom, their higher self. It really doesn't matter about the name, but it's about
Yeah.
getting back in touch with that voice and listening to it, because it wants what's best for us.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the piece that I didn't realize that I needed to work on for healing was the emotional side of it. Didn't even consider that. And that
Yes.
basically was going back into my past and healing healing all of those emotional traumas one by one, just working through those. And that basically encompasses not just looking at ourselves, why are we in this position and what traumas have I been through?
Hmm.
Um, when I was in that deep, dark depression, I was really in victim mode. Look at me, look what's happened to me, poor me. And I really felt that. But as part of our healing, we have to feel that. We have to accept that's where we're at the time, and look at what
Yes.
we can do to step out of that. And part of stepping out of that is looking at who else is involved in what's going on now that's making me feel a
Yeah.
victim, or
Yeah.
what happened in the past, who was involved in that. And when we
Mm.
start looking at the people in our lives in our younger years and start wondering and being curious about what happened to those people in their younger years that would make them do what they did and what they said to us, when we can
Yeah.
start taking that on board, it puts a new perspective into it. And we think about those people who hurt us. Well, what were they like as a 3-year-old, as a 5-year-old, as
Mm.
a 9-year-old, what happened in their lives to change them, to make them say or do those things to us. So when we can look at that with compassion and understanding, we can accept it's happened. We can't change the past, but we can
Right.
accept it and look at it through different eyes. And then when we look at it through those different eyes, we can maybe send them love and share compassion, not necessarily face to face, but in our mind's eye. We can do that inner healing work, healing, just sort of giving out that love and compassion to other people, because everybody's been through something
Yes.
that's changed them.
Hmm.
And that was the crux of my healing. I really, dug deep into healing when I did that. And it was after I'd started the emotional side of the healing that I then left nursing and stepped fully into the work I do now, helping other people to heal themselves by looking at these four pillars: the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual, and help them to either stay off of pharmaceuticals or wean themselves off of pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the background work I had as a nurse and that understanding of how the medical model treat people, I think has helped me in my position today, because I understand many of those medical conditions and how they're treated in the medical model, but also how we can treat them outside of the medical model to help people to help themselves. Because everybody heals themselves. Nobody can heal somebody for them. They can help support people on their own journey in their own way to heal themselves.
There's so many good points here. I'm like taking notes to make sure that I hit on some of these, because really I've I t- have talked about the wellness wheel a fair amount of times. It was all I focused on for like a month. I went through every component. I love it so much because it is such a factor. I mean, all the components around us and within us are all factors of our total well-being, right? Um, you mentioned, going back and looking at certain people that have hurt us, looking at them as kids. And it's crazy that you say that, because I've been doing this kind of recently with my father. So my father, my mom, and my dad were together until I was like 5 or so, I think, and then we moved back here to be with my mom's family when I was 7. So, I had like the formative years with my father, and then a lot of them apart. He struggled with addiction, alcoholism, and different things throughout my life, and our relationship was pretty up and down. Um, at one point kind of saw him. I stayed away for a little bit. I was, kind of here and there, and then I came back and just saw certain things that kind of scared me, and that made me uncomfortable. With, seeing him in addiction, and certain things, seeing him kind of be aggressive, like toward my sister, and things that I was like, whoa, I don't really want to know this about you. Like I want to keep that image of the pictures that I have of my father. I want to keep him that way. And so I went back to staying away again. And he became pretty sick. I just randomly one day decided to drive an hour and a half away and just pop up and kind of start this reconciliation. Um, he passed away almost a year ago, and there's something that my stepmom said to me. Um, she and I had a rocky relationship. Really, really, it was my fault, because I was just this, oh, you're my stepmom, you don't tell me what to do. And, she tried to make rules and structure, and I wasn't used to that. So I held a lot of things against her. sh- Upon trying to, rekindle those relationships there within that family, I started trying to work on mine with her, and realized a lot of things from my childhood. Um, kind of realizing that, like, oh, she wasn't just trying to be this nagging, annoying other woman. Like, she was really trying to create structure in my life that I really could have used. like she was just trying to really be a mom. And so she made a comment not too long ago, and she's like, your dad really loved you. He just had a lot of demons. He had a lot of things that he struggled with from his childhood on. And it set with me. So I've really been trying to like, you know, it's too late, but it's not.
It's
He's not
not.
here, but
Yeah.
it's not because I'm still here and I'm still his daughter, right? So I really have been trying to kind of take that in consideration. Well, because I've always kind of been angry too. Like, well, you chose this addiction over being a good father, and
But addiction's a coping mechanism.
right. So let's go back and unpack like what happened with him
Yeah.
to for him to become an addict.
Yeah.
And instead of, well, he chose that over this, and whatever. I've been through certain things. I've smoked weed, but that's it. Like I've never explored anything else. I did have an issue with alcohol for a while though. You know, there's a part of me at one point that's kind of been like, well, I've never done drugs except for weed, so I don't see how other people can. And that was really like, that's really close-minded of me,
But
I
it's
don't think like that now, but
no, but
that's how
it's
I
where you
used to
were.
kind of be.
Yeah, it's where you were at that point in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think making that statement is so profound because it even just me myself, it's been helpful for
Good.
me to try to understand some things and me not to harbor this kind of anger, that and even try to look at our relationship a little bit differently. I was mad at him for so long
Yeah.
and kind of diving into that, dissecting that. Well, what was kind of the domino that fell that created that effect to lead things the way they were, and kind of taking blame off of ourselves for the things that we can't control as children, because
Yeah.
that's important too. um, but that and the wellness wheel, the components of the wellness wheel, I'm such a huge fan. Everything, our mental, our physical, our emotional, our financial, our spiritual, it all ties in. It all
Yeah.
ties in together. And
Yes, it's holistic.
yeah, yeah,
Healing's holistic.
yes. And it's not people. Okay, I'm gonna ask you this question. I have my own answer, but I want to know yours. So if someone were to ask you, where where in this wheel should I start? Where on this list of the components of the spiritual, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the financial, where do I start? Like, is there a place to start? Or I don't feel like I got to get everything together. So I got to change all of these. How do I do that?
I think I would have to ask that person, where do you feel it's beneficial for you to start?
Hmm.
And put it back to them. But also, not to overwhelm people, because when we look at everything as a whole, it could potentially be huge amounts of total lifestyle changes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's baby steps. Choose one small thing and commit to doing it for 30 days so it becomes a habit, it becomes a part of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because when we're making these changes, it's not as a punishment to ourselves. And
Right.
some
Right.
people
Right. Right.
see it as that. Oh, well, I'm not allowed to eat that anymore. I'm not allowed to do that anymore. No, it's not a punishment. It's we're choosing to do this to benefit and support our health.
Yeah.
So we need to look at it as a choice. So whether that's drinking a glass of water extra a day, whether that's looking back at your past to do some emotional healing, whether that's improving your sleep hygiene, whether that's doing some meditation just to sit down and get back in touch with that inner voice. It doesn't matter. Wherever that person feels they want to start is a good place to start. We could always direct them,
Yeah.
but first and foremost, I would ask them where they feel they want to make the start, or where they think they could get the biggest gains from, or what, what they think that is doable for them right here, right now, today, in this moment. What could they start to do? And then just choose to do that every day for the next 30 days to build it into a habit, because it really is baby steps, so that we don't overwhelm people
Yes.
with change. If they can choose what they want and commit to doing it, then it's coming from them rather
Yeah.
than us telling them, look, do this, do this, do this. And they go, whoa, that's just way too much stuff to do all in one go.
Yeah.
And as somebody once said, little bit every day is better than a whole lot of nothing.
100%. Yeah.
So
100%. Yeah.
yeah, so whatever they feel like, whatever they think they could do, and it's just to support them in making those small changes.
Yeah. So much of coaching is supporting. Um,
Yeah,
we help you create these goals. We don't necessarily tell you how to do it step by step, right? There's so many other factors that go in, help you create these goals, and then we assist you in accomplishing the small goals to get to the big goal. And even without being a coach, just being maybe, a support system of someone's, if somebody, you're not a coach, you're a family member, you're a friend, is going through this lifestyle change, or they're kind of stuck in this, well, my life is not where I want it to be. I don't know how to get it to where I want. It's completely doable to be supportive without being a professional, right? Being
yeah.
part of a support system, just being there when they're doing good, when they're doing bad, when they're struggling, when they don't know what to do, kind of helping, asking kind of open-ended questions, helping them figure out what it is they want and need to do to get to where they need to be. Um,
And
I think,
sometimes just listening as well. Sometimes
yeah,
people just
yeah,
feel the need to offload without any sort of suggestions of help. They just need to offload some
yes,
words, some emotions, and just to be able to listen to them and hear them and see them, because a lot of people come from a background where they were unheard, unseen children and unvalidated.
yeah,
So
yeah,
just to hear and see somebody and validate their emotions,
yeah.
they're having these emotions. Of course they're valid because they're having the emotions.
Right, right, right. It's valid because it's something you're experiencing. Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about your book, Heal Yourself.
So I have a friend, we'll just call her Gifted.
Okay.
And when I was in the deep depression, she said, "You'll write a book." I'm like, "You kidding?" I'm like, "Where's that come from?"
Like right now?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm just trying to get through every day. I've got no intention of writing a book. But anyway, as I started to feel better from the depression, days started to seem a bit lighter, and I wasn't crying all the time. I thought, well, I've not taken antidepressants. I've done them in the past, after the birth of my son
Okay.
with postnatal depression. And I'm like,
Gotcha.
they made me feel like a zombie. I said, I didn't want to do that again. So I
Yeah.
started to write about how I'd healed the depression. And in healing the depression, I also healed my thyroid. And a couple of years later, with keep the lifestyle changes and that, my adrenals started to function fully again, because it takes a long time for adrenal fatigue to
Yeah.
come back. So I started to write about what I was doing and how I was doing it, thinking, well, my own healing journey will help other people to know that it is possible to heal these conditions
Yeah.
without pharmaceuticals. So I wrote all about my own story, but in it I'd put, like, the victim, still I was this victim and this was happening and that was happening. So I have 10,000 words. I'm like, okay, so close the book, don't know what to do with it now. So put it back on my computer, and left it there for 5 years because I didn't know where it was going. It was just like, it was cathartic to get everything out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I didn't know what the crux of my book was going to be, what its name was, why I was writing it, other than to try and help other people. And then one day I just woke up like, okay, so it's got to be a book just about natural healing. So I deleted all the stuff about, the victim mode and what had happened and why it happened and everything. I'm like, so I've had these conditions and I've healed them by doing this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And then I reached out on social media and said, has anybody healed anything? Does anybody want to write about their healing and share it to help others to see that it is possible? Because, when you talk about healing burned out adrenal glands, I've had several people come back to me and say, that's not possible. Well, yes, it is, because my blood pressure is now near normal. It's not
Yeah.
like in the
Yeah.
gutter.
Yeah.
I've healed my thyroid, which is autoimmune.
Hmm.
The eczema and the psoriasis were also autoimmune. I healed the depression. I healed the pains, the candida. I healed all of it without pharmaceuticals. So I'd written about my own story just purely based on healing. 74 other people came back with their own stories about healing in their own words. And so my book was born. And I wanted to call it Heal Yourself because that's essentially what we're all doing. We're all healing ourselves, and in the hope that our own healing helps other people to see that it's possible, but we also share what we did to heal so other people can heal the conditions that we've healed. And there's so many different autoimmune conditions, cancer,
Hmm.
ALS, multiple sclerosis, Lyme, allergies, asthma, sensitivities, chemical sensitivities, electromagnetic sensitivities, emotional breakdowns, so many different things. All these people have healed and documented what they did on their own journey to heal. Colitis, diverticulitis, Crohn's, hormones, so many different things. All these people have healed and written about it.
Yeah.
So we're sharing all of our journeys to say, look, you can do healing. We've done this. And then at the back, after collating all my book and bringing it together, I put in the 4 pillars that I realized that healing encompasses after my own and reading everybody else's healing. So
Hmm.
I put that in as an end note. And I've since learnt a bit more, because it was just over 2 years now that I published my book. So I've learnt, life's a journey, isn't it? We're always learning.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I've learnt more and more and built on my own healing, plus the knowledge I've gained from these beautiful people who shared their healing as well. And I originally entered a Hay House competition to try and publish my book through Hay House. That was my ideal when I thought, I'm writing this book, we'll go with Hay House Publishing. Um, and I didn't come anywhere in the competition, but I took that as a sign from the universe, because Hay House said, when you win the competition, it's going to take 18 months to get your book out on the market, to go through all the processes. I'm like, so the universe is telling me my book needs to come out before 18 months. So,
Yeah.
so I self-published it on Amazon. And I've since found the English version in Barnes and Noble in America. So they've taken it up, and there's a few other online shops, stalls, places selling my English version book as well.
Yeah.
So it's now in English, Spanish, Dutch, and French.
And that's amazing too, because you've taken these experiences and not only you share them where you live, you share them in other places, you share them in other languages, which leaves it open for so many other people to have access to them,
Yes,
which is really cool because especially when we talk about self-help and growth and self-improvement and things like that, I feel like a lot of times we just kind of like think about us. Sometimes we think about sharing our stories, right? So to have other people come share theirs in your own book, it is really cool for one. But then to have it in other languages and to take it other places, how many other people can I help? Where can I reach? How far I can reach as far as I want to,
yeah.
to utilize those resources is really commendable.
Thank you. Yeah, because not everybody speaks English,
Right.
and that was the crux of why I wanted the different languages. And I've got a lady translating it into Greek as well
Oh,
at the
nice.
moment, and I'm thinking about other languages as well,
Yeah.
just to help people to see that healing is possible, that we can heal ourselves when we support ourselves.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
to give them, because the people who've translated my book have all said it's just inspirational, that they felt that even though they've got nothing to heal, that it gave them the inspiration that they could do anything they wanted to do. And one
Yeah.
lady said, "I think I'm going to move house." Because just because of the inspiration, what the people have gone through and
Yeah.
shared, that's led her to believe. It's about belief, so she believes now she can do whatever she wants to do, not
Yeah.
just around healing, but in her whole life.
Yeah. Well, and two, it's, when, because not everybody experiences everything, right? So when there's things that you haven't personally experienced, but you learn about them, it gives you ability to be supportive of other people who do
Yeah,
go through these things, or like you said, to apply them in other areas of your own life.
yeah,
Um, as a writer, sometimes I have learned that it can be very kind of like up and down. It can be an emotional ride. And when you're
yeah,
choosing a niche, when you're choosing an audience, sometimes I've felt like in the beginning with certain books that I've written, or even starting the podcast, um, it's kind of like, okay, well, other people have already talked about this though. So why should I talk about it? Um, because the world is not healed, right? So as long as the world is not healed, there's still more room for us to talk about the same thing, because
yes,
we are all individuals with our individual experience. Five people can talk about the same topic, but five of those are completely different perspectives, even with the
yes,
same outcome, so I want to kind of put that out there to encourage someone, if you're listening and you're, maybe like you were talking about the woman who was like, oh, I have the inspiration to do this, even though these particular stories aren't relatable to me. If you are listening, be inspired. Be inspired to change whatever it is in your life that's been kind of holding you back from changing your whole life. Pick that one spot, and just go with it, and the other things will fall into place once you focus holistically. If you're a writer, you want to do a podcast and you're kind of like, but there's already other people out there talking about this. Talk about it anyway.
yeah,
Talk about it anyway, because on my podcast I talk about holistic healing. I talk about life experiences, relationships, all these things, and so do other people, right? And you have people to talk about their experiences with healing themselves, healing relationships, healing different things, and so do other people. Great. Keep talking about it. It's the world is so big, and there's so many things that we can do with it. I think it's incredible, and it's inspiring to be able to kind of take that from something that, well, I can't relate to this specifically. I haven't experienced this, but this makes me want to do this.
yeah. And believe in yourself as well. That's the key. To
Yeah.
believe, like I believe that I could heal myself,
Yeah.
and that's why I refused medicine from the doctors.
Yeah.
He didn't have the faith in me that I had in the faith in me, but
Yeah.
that's fine. So
That's
I
okay. That's
believe
why you're here now.
absolutely, absolutely. I believed I could, and when you believe you can, you're
Yeah.
halfway there. You
Yeah.
just got to keep going with that belief in yourself that you can do and overcome,
Yeah.
and reach those goals.
Yeah. My husband is currently, he's changing his habits, specifically with eating and physical activity. So today would be day 3. And he came in yesterday. He went to the range, and For those of you who know anything about shooting, there's certain guns that you shoot that is like a whole body thing. Most of them really is like, you're practicing, you're working on your stance, how you're holding, different things, and it can be a whole body thing. He's not usually this like worn out from it though. So yesterday was day 2 of him like eating clean, cutting out dairy, cutting out whites, breads, rices, things like that. Cutting out sugar. I think that's what I think those are the 3 things he's focusing on. And so the first day he was just like, I'm just really hungry. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm hungry. And he's, counting calories and things like that, portion sizes. And it's like, I'm really hungry. Well, yesterday, so we went to the range and he comes in and he was like, I'm not as hungry, but I'm so tired. Like, I'm so, you know, if I can just get through this week, then I'll be okay. It's lifestyle change is different,
It is,
difficult.
and it's detoxing as well. His body
Yeah,
will be detoxifying.
exactly. Yep.
Because gluten, the effects of gluten and dairy cause inflammation. And I know
Hmm.
specifically that gluten, it takes 6 weeks for your body to heal the inflammation after you
Oh,
stop eating it.
wow. Wow. I didn't realize it took that long.
Most people don't.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, he's just like, I mean, it's difficult. It's a process,
It is a process, yeah.
it's like anything else, any lifestyle change. And the only reason it's difficult is because your brain and your body is used to that consistency. And when
Yeah.
you try to remove, I've been trying to make certain changes too. I used to go to Dunkin' every single day. Most of the time I wouldn't get food. I just get, something to drink. Or if I did get food, I got like, because my habits have stipulations, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I'm not getting like sugary stuff. I'll just get, like a turkey sausage croissant or, something like that. But I have become so repetitive in my habits. It's like my brain, it's like, oh, there's McDonald's, go get a Coke Zero. Oh, there's Dunkin', go get this drink. I don't really go to Starbucks a lot, but oh, there's Starbucks. They have the I don't know, mocha peppermint something. And I'm in the car yesterday. I was in the car for a little bit. I had to run a couple errands, and I'm literally like, oh no, no, you don't
Wonderful.
need it. No, you don't
Yeah.
need it.
Yeah.
It's so
It's full of
habitual that,
it's yeah, but it's full of chemicals, it's full of trans fats, it's full of crap,
yeah,
basically.
yeah,
It's not real food, it's food like. And you
right, right,
and you can make such great nutritious meals at home,
yeah.
you
My
know?
my favorite thing to do is make a veggie tray. And I know that might sound like simple or weird or something. I don't know. But I make a veggie tray, carrots, celery, or cucumbers, and typically I'll like cut up blocks of cheddar cheese. And I put that in there, and that's kind of like I don't really buy chips. Every once in a while I'll buy like certain chips, low sodium, whatever, whatever. The stipulations of the habit. Um, but I'm like, okay, if I can just make me a good veggie tray, maybe some broccoli, cauliflower, make a good veggie tray
Yeah,
and put it in there, then we all have something to snack on. And we're not wanting to run get something or get chips or whatever. Because I used to have all the kid friendly quote unquote snacks in my house, right?
yeah.
My 14-year-old, I think she was like 12 at the time. She's like, Mom, can you please stop buying this stuff? And I was like, yeah, I should probably do that, right? Like if my kid is asking me to do that, maybe a little bit younger. It's been a while. It's been maybe like she was like 10 or so, because it's been a while since I've just like kept chips and ramen and all that crap. Um, but yeah, like if my child was like, Mom, can you stop buying this crap? I should probably listen to her. You know?
Have you thought about, hummus as well? I make hummus out of chickpeas.
Yeah.
And that's great with a veggie tray.
Yes, yes. Yeah, instead of like a veggie, like a ranch dip or something like that. Yeah, we have
Yeah,
a couple kinds in there now. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, and then medication too. We're talking about medicine and just kind of I mean, I have certain family members who I know and even friends who are like, "Oh, this is bothering me. Grab this to take or go grab some ibuprofen." And it's one of the things that kind of my father would just take like handfuls ibuprofen. And I don't know, it just has stuck out to me for so long. My kids even, I very rarely offer medicine for quick fixes.
yeah,
Only if it's like, oh, I've got like a really bad headache, which very rarely happens, or period cramps and they're just intense. And I'm like, okay, you can, uh put a heating pad on your back, maybe take
yeah,
a couple ibuprofen, but it's got to be pretty intense. I've even asked, specifically with periods, because a couple of my kids, they have really intense cramps, really bad back pain. And well, we'll try the heating pad and things like that. If on a rare occasion I feel like it's really bad and I do offer them ibuprofen, most of the time they say no. That no, I'm okay without it, and over time of doing that, I realized, okay, well, stop offering this quick fix, teach them how to do other things. I had a hysterectomy.
movement,
Hmm,
movement.
yeah, yeah, that's something I've learned too, like, because it's like, oh, I'm cramping, I'm sore, I don't want to do anything, but being
Yeah,
active actually does help
it
as
does.
much as it sounds like it would hurt. But
Yeah,
it's true.
yeah,
But that's a
yeah,
lot of things though. Your physical activity is really helpful to a lot of your ailments. And
yeah,
we kind of go through these. I know myself, one of my daughters, we go through these cycles where we're like, I go hard, I'm in the gym, I'm doing Pilates, I'm doing all these things. And then the slightest I get sick. I got sick. And then I didn't go to the gym for like a month. And I was like, what am I doing with I'm not even sick anymore 3.5 weeks later. Like, what is
yeah,
happening? But being physically active, the less you do it, the harder it is to get back into it. And
yeah,
it's one of the things that I have a wrestling trainer here, and you know, I gotta. There's a little bit of depression and anxiety and other things, and we kind of get into this cycle. And I'm like, but you gotta move because
yes.
it's like every time I don't go to the gym for a month and I go back, it hurts like crazy. Every time you don't jog and do these other things and then you start doing it again, it's difficult because it hurts because you've kind of come stagnant, you know.
Yeah,
But the more consistent we are, the less difficult it is to do. It is physically to do these
absolutely.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think that's about all the time we have for today. Um
Wonderful.
all
Can I
right.
share my website?
Yes, let us know where we can find you, socials, your website, all the things.
Thank you. Thank you. So just type in my name, sarahDawkins.com. Sarah with an H, Dawkins, Dawkins. My book, there are links to my book, there are links to my podcast, there are links to all my socials, my YouTube. Everything is on my website.
Perfect. And I will be on the podcast too. So if you
Yes,
like me, check that out. And then you'll fall in love with her. And then you have two podcasts to listen to. So,
absolutely.
all right. Well, thank you for being here. And we look forward to having you back.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ria. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
You're welcome. Visit www.philology.net to check out our workbooks, autobiography, receive our weekly wrap ins, monthly blog emails, and much more.